The first layer would be actually jamming and detecting and jamming these drones with our systems such as Titan,
right.
RF jamming systems. And then the second layer would be actually a laser and directed energy. And the third layer would be a kinetic prosecution or kill with a missile or a weapon system of that nature.
That's Aero Environment CEO Wahid Nawabi speaking with Maria recently on protecting America from autonomous drones. Iran has been employing its Shahed drones during the conflict, which are cheap to produce and can cause extensive damage, opening up a new era in modern warfare. Joining me now, Colonel Joel Rayburn, former senior director for Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon on the National Security Council. Colonel, good morning to you, and thank you so much for being here. You heard Trey Yingst's most recent reporting from his conversation with the president. We're waiting to find out more detail, the situation being very fluid. But what is coming across very clearly to me is that the president is trying to give the Iranians a diplomatic off-ramp. Should they choose not to take it, there is a very clear red line here. And this is not a president that will allow his red lines to be crossed. Maximum pressure sounds like it will be used in the event that the Iranians don't comply. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, Jackie, you're right. So far, 5 weeks into this campaign, the president has been refraining from striking some of the Iranian regime's critical infrastructure because it has dual use. It has some civilian purposes. So we're talking about the electrical grid. We're talking about some of the fuel distribution and so on. But those are legitimate military targets if they're performing the function of supporting military forces and security forces, which they are for the Iranian regime. Mm-hmm. It's very dangerous, and they're very vulnerable, obviously, to us being able to strike them or the Israelis being able to strike them. So that is the next step. And I think the Iranian regime leaders should learn by now to take President Trump very seriously when he makes these kind of warnings. He's not messing around.
Can we lean on your experience as a retired U.S. Army colonel for a moment? Because we're talking about different kind of warfare here. You've got AI. A lot of this is happening above ground, in the skies. Technology, very crucial here. The Iranians, obviously, with their cheaper technology, but their drones have been somewhat effective. The president is thinking about potentially moving this to another level should they not comply. How does military warfare play out in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is how long he said he expects this to last?
It's very interesting. First of all, I mean, we have the aspect that we just talked about, which is potential strikes against Iranian regime infrastructure, that would create so many more problems internally for the Iranian regime. If that country were to go dark, I think the regime would begin to lose control of some of the cities and districts, especially on their periphery, and they might have an internal security problem that they can't handle given the level of external pressure that they're under. It will also, we'll be looking at the Strait of Hormuz and the situation in the Persian Gulf. CENTCOM for the last couple of weeks has been suppressing, neutralizing the kind of threats to the Strait of Hormuz that the Iranian regime would try to pose from anti-ship cruise missiles, drones, mines, and small attack craft. And that's being neutralized to a point where I think eventually, after a week, 2 weeks, so the military commanders, I think, are going to be able to turn to the president and say, you know, Mr. President, we're now confident that we can force the straits militarily and mitigate the risk if we need to, and give him that option as well. And that would be decisive.
Okay, and I just want to ask you before I let you go, the Iranians are boasting about this new defense air system. They say that's what shot down the U.S. planes. And I'm wondering, as we move into the next phase of this operation, how strong is that air defense system, and is it something to be concerned about?
Well, without having any inside information, I suspect what we saw on Friday was the result of a tactical adaptation by the Iranians. They probably had located some routes that our airmen were using, and they were able to ambush them probably with shoulder-fired weapons or some small air defense system. I haven't seen any indication that this is some new capability that they're deploying in the field. And our air operators will adapt just as the Iranians adapted to us.
Okay, and if we do attack energy infrastructure, Trey had mentioned specifically power plants, bridges. As you mentioned, there are civilian uses for those, but they also cripple the regime's ability as well. I'm thinking about Karg Island and the nucleus of the oil operations that Iran right now is continuing to use to fund its military campaign. Whether the president goes for that immediately or holds off on it, I also think about the aftermath of this. In 2 to 3 weeks, you also want an energy infrastructure for the people, if they do take their country back, to be able to create some revenue. So how do you operate and sort of walk that line strategically?
Well, there are a lot of options. I mean, the targeters on both the U.S. and Israeli sides will have looked at this under a microscope to see what are the critical nodes on Karg Island that could be struck, that could halt production, but could be maybe repaired relatively easily so that the whole installation need not be taken out. Or there's the option, if you wind up forcing the Strait of Hormuz and have naval vessels there, that you could just blockade it.
Right.
And that wouldn't mean any harm to the infrastructure at all.
Well, the operations have been very precise, so it remains to be seen how this plays out. But Colonel Joel Rayburn, we appreciate your insight. Thank you so much, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.